you're correct. You got it wrong. Yeah.
Ready?
Ready?
Just have to unmute.
Do we need the screen?
Why isn't it on?
If you start talking, will it turn to you as speaker?
It's controlled from here.
Minor technical glitch.
Oh,
It was working.
yeah. Was loud for a second.
Give it a second screen, sharing. your
It's on
screen.
both. Two.
That's what IT tells me to do.
It's the help desk, turn it off.
That's as far as we go with technology.
If you snap the monitor, it doesn't look good, but you feel better.
Took it to bite it.
Janet, can you hear us?
Very faintly. I mean, I hear you, but it's kind of echoey.
Okay, well, now we see you, which is good.
All right.
You're coming loud and
I think
clear.
that one will connect.
Yeah, here it comes. I turned it line up here.
Yep, that's fine. And then the camera, you'll just. So that's. There's no one else in the panelists, so we're only gonna see Janet. Okay. All right, so we're ready. Will the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of January 16th, 2025, please come to order? We have one public hearing scheduled for this evening, so I want to take just a few minutes to review the process for public hearings and the current hybrid format of our meetings. During the public hearing, the applicant will be invited to present the application, explaining to the commission and others present what is being requested. The applicant or staff will share all application materials on the screen as needed. Comments of town agencies will be read for each application if there are any. There will be clarifying questions from the commissioners. Then there will be an opportunity for clarifying questions from attendees. For Zoom attendees, please raise your hand through the Zoom platform and wait to be called on and unmuted. As this public hearing must be recorded, attendees will state their names and addresses before asking their questions. Next, those who wish to support the application may come forward, and then those who oppose the application may come forward. We often do that at the same time. Again, it is necessary for speakers to identify themselves each time they speak by stating their name and address. The applicant will then have an opportunity to address any questions or concerns raised by the public or the commissioners. Once the public hearing is closed, the applicant is free to leave or remain for the balance of the regular meeting, during which the commission will try to reach a decision on each application. Each applicant will be notified in writing as to the decision of this commission and has a right to appeal to Superior Court if desired. Decisions of this meeting are available the day after the meeting by calling the Land Use Department at 203-245-5631 after 9 a.m. All actions taken tonight by the commission will be by roll call. All commissioners and staff will identify themselves for the record before speaking. Seated this evening are members in alphabetical order, so maybe you can raise your hands. Mike Bogda, Jeff Downs, John Duza, John Morgan, Bob O'Connor, Janet Peckinpah joining us via Zoom, Bob Reinhardt,
Andy Rubin, and myself, Carol Snow, Chair. Staff present this evening is Erin Mannix, Town Planner. The meeting is live streamed on YouTube and will be made available on the town website for viewing. Additionally, I would like to ask that we treat each other respectfully throughout the meeting, and a reminder to please turn off your phones. And the town planner will now read the legal notice. Erin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Notice is hereby given that the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 16th, 2025, beginning at 7 p.m. in Meeting Room A, Town Campus, 8 Campus Drive, Madison, Connecticut, 06443. This is a hybrid meeting, and attendees may also join via Zoom webinar through either the webinar link or the call-in information below. The webinar ID is 915-8196-6735. Password is 452138. The call-in number is 1-646-558-8656. Following applications will be heard. Number 24-45, 341 Opening Hill Road, map 94, lot 5, owner applicant Country School Incorporated. Special exception modification application per section 5.4A and 3.4C to construct a new 2,260 square foot footprint, 2-story engineering classroom and maintenance building. Copies of this application are available for inspection in the land use office. Further details on how to participate in the webinar are posted on the Town of Madison website, www.madisonct.org. All written correspondence can be submitted to the Land Use Department via email, landuse@madisonct.org. Dial 203-245-5631 for assistance. Dated at Madison, Connecticut, the 17th day of December, 2024, Carol Snow, Chair. This published once in the source on January 2nd, 2025, and once on January 9th, 2025.
Thank you, Erin. Could I have a motion then to open the public hearing for 24-45, 341 Opening Hill Road?
So moved.
Second? Second, any discussion in favor of opening the public hearing? It's officially open. I'd like to invite the applicant to come forward, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is John Fix. I'm head of Country School, Madison resident as well. We rely as a school on volunteers, so thank you for volunteering for our town, and thank you for bringing your voices out tonight. The building you're discussing tonight has been in the campus master plan, formally submitted to the town since 2001. It's been a dream of the school much longer than that. It consolidates all our maintenance sheds and equipment that are left outside under one structure. In addition to that, a double classroom structure is put on top. The building's important to us as a school, but we hope it's important to the country and the nation as well. For a long time, we've been committed to our signature program, which is a STEAM program that asks students, encourages students, teaches students to combine their heads and their hearts and their hands. And it's an important program. Families come to us because of that. We export that to other schools, and we're proud of that. We're especially proud of that the farther schools have gotten away from metal shop and wood shop and so much that we grew up with. So the STEAM program is very important. The maintenance component of this is equally important. As far as we can tell, we're the first school that's combining the maintenance facility on one floor, that is the adult engineers, with the student engineers on the second floor. We're proud of that. We think that's the right way to do it. We've spent a lot of time surveying other schools, colleges, universities, nursing homes and such. And often, usually, the maintenance center is buried out back. It's not particularly attractive. We're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate it for our young people. We're going to celebrate as an example of how when you work with your head, your hearts, and your hands, that's the way to make a difference in our world going forward. So we're proud of the building, and it's not just a structure with maintenance. It's not just a double classroom building. We think it's symbolic, and we're pretty proud of it. Ted Tullis is our architect, and I'll turn it over to Ted Tullis, but I'm happy to answer questions throughout this. Again, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I've been a Madison resident for 30 years, as well as an architect. I've been working with the Country School for approximately the last 3 years on this building, so it's terrific to finally be here in front of you all and and present this great project. Also on the line, I believe, online, we have Allie Harrison, who's our landscape architect with SLAM, and Mike Ott, who is a civil engineer here in Madison. I think they're all familiar with Mike. So I had the PowerPoint or PDF to present the project. So the PDF will show you a little bit on where the building is located on the campus relative to the properties nearby. And then zoom in, look at the site and the limit of disturbance, and then floor plans, elevations, more detail on the actual building itself. Okay, so the project, Country School, if you go to the next slide, is located, one more, at the corner of Opening Hill Road and Blinshed. There's an east and west traffic circle where students are dropped off for classes. I believe the younger kids are dropped off in the east circle and the middle school kids are dropped off in the west circle. So as you come in off of Blinshed, there's an entry here. These students mostly come in this way and drop off here and come out. So this building is going to be located right off the traffic circle. So the parents will see it every day. And we figure that's for the west part of the site, a relatively important spot for us. You can see a little bit further west on Blinshed, there's a residence that's a couple hundred feet from the building, and these two homes here on Nutmeg are about, I think, around 400 feet from the building. Okay, if you want to go to the next image. So this is a drawing from our landscape set that shows you the limited disturbance for the building. So it comes up to the drive that comes off of Blinshed. We have to clear this area here to make a drive to the back of the building for the maintenance people. And the building itself is sited just off of the traffic circle. There's a sidewalk that you can actually see pretty well here that drops down and covers about a quarter of the traffic circle. That will loop around to the front of the new building when it's constructed. Okay, next image. The trees that you see here in this sort of...
Can you move that back out of the way?
Oh, the podium is in the way.
Sorry. I don't need a podium, so
Thank you.
I'm moving around too much. Okay, so this lighter colored green, blue trees that you see are existing trees to remain. However, I haven't done a detailed survey to locate each and every one of these trees. It's a zone. So in this zone, we intend to leave as many of the existing trees as we can. And in this area, especially to the south and west of the site, there's wetlands down in that area. This dash line is the offset for the 100-foot offset for that wetlands. And so there will be off of this entry piece, a new drive to the back, a turnaround, and water retention for anything that is captured on the paving and is routed to that back. The rainwater and groundwater from around the building will be trapped by another infiltration system. The building itself is highlighted in red, and you could see the new sidewalk that'll go around and connect back to the campus. In 3 different lifts, we'll use rocks from the existing site to have the grade tear down from the building, which is set into the hillside on 3 sides, and then is 2 stories as it faces west. Within the setback area here and along Blinshed, we intend to fill in with evergreens and rhododendra, some sort of a screening for the neighbor's property to our new site. Okay, any questions on this or okay? Yes.
Mike Bug, can you tell me about the parking facilities, additional parking you're gonna provide?
Sure. So there are about 20 spaces here that is not needed on a daily basis. It's overflow parking. The school has 2, maybe 3 events a year, 4 total, where they have a lot of people show up, and the teachers would perhaps park back here so they can free up as much of the parking in the loop as possible.
Ted, you might explain, John Fix, you might explain, you mentioned paving, which might be an architectural term, but that's.
Yes, this is going to be gravel. So anything in light gray is asphalt paving that the school has done. And in this area will be gravel.
So Andy, what's the overall height of the building?
Can I show you on the elevations I have a little bit later? Yeah, it does a good.
That's where I was going anyway, the
Yes.
elevation there compared to the height of the current building.
It's about-
It's gonna be a little bit lower.
Yeah.
It's a tall building.
So the change in grade is about 12 feet. And so it's 12 feet to the gutter line here, the eave line. So this is about 24 feet to the eave.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. This is just a rendering that I put ahead of the presentation so that everybody could see basically our take on the look of the building and how it would present itself to that turnaround, the traffic circle at the west part of the site. It's essentially a single-story building, and except as it faces directly west. Okay. So this is the classroom level. There'll be 2 makerspace classrooms, about 800 square feet in size, with a small lobby, 2 bathrooms, and a mechanical room. That makes up the entire first floor of the building. Down on the lower level, which would be the next image, we have the 2 small buses can park in here. There's a workshop in the middle, an office, a small utility room for the maintenance portion of the building, and then on the far south of the building is a pretty good size storage room for the general campus storage. Okay, and now the elevations of the building. So the building's going to have asphalt shingles with what I'm hoping is a light green color to them to fit in with Blatchford, the last building that was built on the campus and has pitched roofs. That building was built about 30 years ago, pretty close to it. And so this is the newest building that we intend to do. And it's a board and batten siding and with insulated aluminum overhead doors at the lower level and glass overhead doors at each of the classrooms. So the kids could actually take things from inside that they're working out and move them outside and work on anything from classroom projects to scenery, perhaps for a play for the building, for the main campus. Okay. And this is the east elevation of the building. So this is what you would see on the traffic circle. And again, seeing the 2 overhead doors for the classrooms and the main entry lobby entrance right at the center of the building. And then on the west end of the building, this is the maintenance entrance, again, overhead doors and essentially the back of the building.
Gary Messenger, Nutmeg Lane, what kind of lighting is going to be?
We're going to ask you to wait
Oh, okay,
until
I'm
the
sorry.
presentation is finished and
Oh,
until we
sorry.
have a chance to ask questions.
Okay.
And then we'll handle it. Thanks.
Sure. Okay. Next image, this is the north and south elevation of the building. They have classroom exits, so each classroom has 2 exits, and the buildings, as you can see, sort of settled into the hillside as best we could in a gentle way, and still provide that sort of hardy panel board and batten siding with shingles up above. Next image, I believe, is the rendering again, and I could just leave this here as some sort of a feel for what we'd like to do here in Madison. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? We've had a couple of pictures, but any other questions?
John, so what's the reason for the additional parking? You mentioned that there's a few events, but
Just for that reason, I don't know, John. So essentially, people aren't going to park there for on a daily basis. It's overflow for when they have large events, which they have a few times a year.
I guess my question is it necessary then for those few extra events?
Otherwise, for some of the parking, it ends up on the street, and that's not safe. That's not a safe condition, and including down Winter Hill, which is Winter Hill.
Down opening, down.
Right, John Fix again. We've been budgeting tightly for this. That's a good question about the overflow. If it were requiring paving, we would probably not do it for two reasons. One is it's against the mission of the school as a signature program of environmental stewardship. Because it's gravel, and if we can take the load off of Ivy Island, we don't usually park on Nutmeg, but sometimes families will park inappropriately on Opening Hill. It would be better neighbors that way. We're happy to do it. So, but yes, it's 2 evening events and 4 events total a year. The usual graduation, grandparents' day, back to school.
I have a very basic question. We should know this, but is it K through 8th grade at Country School?
Pre-K.
Pre-K to 8th grade?
Preschool through 8th grade, so 11 years.
So no students are driving?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to point out that this building is to support the existing students on the campus. It's not so that they can bring more students on the campus, more traffic.
Right, right.
What are you talking about the foundation? Is it just general slab? And it's like 6 feet?
It's a concrete foundation, and it's about 10 inches thick, I think, and it has a stem at the base to support the stick frame building.
All the facilities, water and everything will come from the main structure across the way.
We're gonna have a well for this building and to support the building. It's a long way to go from the main
Oh, I
campus
see.
for something like water. We are gonna tie into the fire alarm system and the IT, but the power is gonna come from the street. The water will come from a well that's near the building.
So it'll be a separate meter line.
For a well?
No, for the electricity.
Oh, yes. Oh, I don't know. I believe so. Yeah, I can get you that answer.
It's not a big deal.
So engineer and landscape architect, because,
So we still have 2 more presentations.
yeah, I
Okay, great.
think Mike might be able to answer some of those
Sure.
Good.
questions for you too.
Any other questions for the architect?
How many students are enrolled?
John Fix again, 203 students. And just to put one PS on the building, when we build a building, the advantage we have is that students use that for all 11 years. So there's a consistency and a predictability, and a building goes a long way in a structure that's essentially 3 schools on one campus.
Okay, great. Mike, up next.
Here it comes.
Good evening, everyone. Just for the record, I'm Mike Ott. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor with Summerhill Civil Engineers here in Madison. I didn't have a separate presentation, really. I don't think Allie, our landscape architect, does either, but we're both here to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Maybe we could go back to the site plan just to
The civil,
clarify a little bit about well water, septic, stormwater.
Sure.
or do you want me?
Ted, can you show that still, or was that Aaron that was showing that?
Yeah, that was me,
Aaron
Mike,
was
Aaron. Do you have it? available, Mike, to screen share?
I do, yeah. I'll share my screen right now.
Thank you.
Can the commission see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so, just for orientation, north is to the right. You see the north arrow at the top of the sheet, and this is Blinshed Road on the right side of the sheet. Nutmeg Lane would be, off the sheet to the top, to the west. So, very simply, I'll zoom in a little bit if I can, but this is the septic system, the leaching field part of the septic system that will serve the building. The septic system was submitted to the health department and we received approval in mid-December, I believe it was. The well that was talked about a bit earlier, the proposed well will be here. This is the new well that will serve the building. And power and communication utilities will come from a utility pole here along Blinshed Road, and then into the site and to the building. We've met with the utility companies to ensure that they could service us from that pole, so that will work out great for us. And then I guess I could tell you a little bit about stormwater. We, as John and Ted explained, this, with the exception of a little bit of a bituminous apron here at the entrance of the new driveway, all of this driveway, overflow parking, and the pad, as we call it, behind the building, is all designed to be an open graded stone surface that will allow the precipitation from most rainfall events to infiltrate. It's also designed with a slight slope outward. So in this direction, if you can see my cursor moving, it's sloped away to the wooded areas and the vegetated areas that will remain when the project is done. We did, however, size a subsurface stormwater infiltration system here, right behind this pad, to accept all of the roof water and all of the water from this pad. Even though this pad will be stone surfaced, it's designed such that water will be directed to an inlet in the middle of the pad. And so all the water that falls on this pad and all the water that falls on the roof will be directed to this subsurface stormwater infiltration system. And that system was sized to meet the current Connecticut DEP stormwater quality manual requirements for water quality volume, as well as required retention volume. So the only actual impervious surfaces proposed as part of the project are this little bituminous apron, the roof area, of course, and the new sidewalks. The remainder of the site is pervious surface, and that includes this gravel surfaced walkway. And all the impervious surfaces, I'm sorry, all the pervious surfaces are also considered disconnected, if you've heard that term before, meaning that any water that runs off them drains to a vegetated area. It doesn't drain directly to a stormwater system or to a public road, to Blinshed Road, or to a water course or to a wetland. Any water that might run off from them drains to vegetated areas first. I think that's it. Quite simply, and be glad to answer any other questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
You're welcome.
Are the utility lines underground or overhead?
Yes, underground.
Yeah.
Mike should answer that.
Building or site lighting?
So there is existing site lighting in place that is conveniently situated in front of the building, so we don't have to add any site lighting of any kind. There will be some building mounted lighting for egress purposes and for general illumination of the parking area in back of the building, but all of that lighting is full cutoff, horizontal to parallel to grade, and direct downlight of just those surfaces. School has also asked us to put a timer on that. So at a given time, let's say 8 o'clock in the evening, that will automatically shut off.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a landscaping presentation, or should we pull up one of your drawings?
I think I covered it for
That's
the
it?
most part. Yeah, if you would like a little more information, Ally is on the line. And feel free to ask. We can give you any of the details you'd like.
You bring it up.
Questions about landscaping?
Just to see it. Because there's a lot of,
That was our site plan that we had up on the screen. So
That is
This-
what we have so far.
yeah, this is our landscape going. So there are plants pulled out at the perimeter and near the building.
So it's our understanding that there has been back and forth with the neighbors and maybe some additional to what we're seeing, or is it about what we're seeing there? Additional landscaping and screening?
We'll
Sure.
talk to that.
Yeah,
or
we-
I know,
we met on-
or Ally can.
sure, that'd be good.
Since you met with the neighbors, maybe it's best if you talk about that at least. And then
Yeah, we've been, as a Madison resident, I'm sensitive to the John Fix, the headmaster of country school again. We met actually again, well, met yesterday, met again today on landscape plan, trying to be sensitive what the neighbors are asking. We think it's a robust plan. It's an expensive plan to do properly on this. I would make a note that we really are, one of our signature programs, and we start camping with the kids in 4th grade. They're outside eventually in 8th grade for 8 days out in Moab, Utah. We are grounded in the earth, and we believe in the earth, and we believe that young people have responsibility to preserve as many of Earth's non-renewable resources as possible. So we want them to understand water runoff. We want them to understand foliage. We want them to understand how you can create power through solar and through wind and geothermal. So this, our commitment to plants is not just to be good neighbors. It's because we want this building and the site to teach. And we did the same thing with our athletic fields, we did it with our parking lots, we did it with lights, we do it with our restructuring. We think it's a robust plan. We've been in correspondence with neighbors. Our board of trustees is comfortable making the kind of commitment to screen it completely to be good neighbors. We want to wait for full promises till we see how many trees come down before we say it'll be 62 trees or 82 trees or 43 trees. We're also committed to using this building and the construction of the building as an educational moment. And we'd like to engage our students, we plan to engage our students in relocating any plants instead of cutting down trees or bushes, replanting those or relocating them. And we may relocate them temporarily and then put them back on site when construction's over. But we to take down trees or bushes unnecessarily is totally counter. And to put in trees and bushes is part of our mission. So I don't know what sort of reassurance, other than for 70 years, we've been committed to the earth and we remain committed to the earth. Happy with questions.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners?
Ally is online. Also, if you had questions.
Is Ally going to give a presentation, or she's available?
she's available to answer.
Okay, thanks.
Ask any questions.
Here you are.
Can you hear me okay?
It's good to see you.
I'm trying to hear you also.
We may need to use the microphone or speak louder.
Any other questions then?
I just had one question. Bob Reinhardt. So with the bottom floor being the maintenance, engineering section, I wanted to understand what plans there might be as far as the location of the external storage outside the building. So what might be located outside the building if there's dumpsters or something like that? It sounds like it wouldn't be. I just want to ask that directly. What is the plan to be outside that would be visible potentially to any of the neighbors?
Well, what is visible, I can't answer, because they're hundreds of feet away. But basically the storage that you can see up top now, right off of Blinn Shed, would be moved. So the two dumpsters would, one for recycling, one for garbage, would be moved down there. And the two buses that they presently have, and I believe they have an SUV, those would all move down and be parked down in that area. But the shed that is there will be removed, and those pieces will be, what's in there will be moved in the building.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, if anything, though, that's what it sounds like. Anything outside there would be more visible to the neighbors on Opening Hill than they would be.
Oh, yeah.
Else, everything else is blocked by all that wood, so.
Right.
And that's across all the fields.
We agree. Yeah.
Any other questions from commissioners? We can open it up to attendees, and we've got one question via Zoom, I think, too. Any other questions? Yeah.
Peter Van Heiningen, Blinn Shed Road. I noticed on the drawings that you've got a septic system there underneath the driveway, and trucks and everything else are going to be driving back and forth. Is that going to be a problem?
Mike, did you hear that question?
I did, Mike Ott, again for the record. No, the septic system was designed, if you were to look at the drawing details, you'll see that the leaching field structures are specified to be able to withstand wheel loading, we call it. So they're specifically made and constructed to be able to be beneath traffic, vehicular traffic.
Yes, go ahead.
John Argento, Blinn Shed Road. I'm concerned about the water runoff. Back in 2019, I had an issue with water running off from the property into my garage, which was corrected. It wasn't a problem. But I'm concerned you're moving everything closer to my property and the water is going to run down there. I'd like some assurance that's going to be diverted in another direction.
So I can answer that. So we I think I don't know that I actually met you, but I remember that. I remember being out with John Fix looking at your property. So we've graded it such and designed the driveway such that additional surface water is not directed towards your property. It's actually directed to the south, as we explained in our stormwater narrative. So you should not see any additional surface water runoff as a result of the project.
And how close to my property line would the extra parking be?
It is, I'm judging by my drawing. At the closest point, it's 35 feet. And that from the common property boundary between the school and your property. And that's just at a single point. As you head north, that's at its most southerly point. As you head north, it kind of flares away from your property if you study the drawing.
And there'll be some kind of abatement put up to keep the noise out? Because if you're gonna have traffic and trucks and buses coming through there.
I think, John, do you want to talk about that, please? Thanks.
Thanks for asking, John. We've had good relationships with our nearest neighbor, in fact. You'll remember when we had that water runoff, it was a combination. It was water shedding down off of Blinshed because the town had just paved Blinshed and had carved it in such a way that our poor neighbors took on more water. And then Mike, you directed a culvert to be cut between our property and the Argento property down there. The landscape plan, if we want to put it back up, but we're very sensitive to our closest neighbor. In fact, we used to own a house, as you know, so that's where the landscaping is most robust. And that's certainly where we feel the strongest commitment. If it's a matter of going beyond, once we see what's down, we would certainly do that. I can't speak to the water, but we definitely trust Mike, and we've been very clear that the water's not to go anywhere close to that. So happy to meet individually on that and explain with Mike as best we can and walk the property as we've done before.
Well, I'd like to address the issue before we have the issue.
Yeah, so I'd like to, Ted told us again, I'm not sure if I have to introduce myself each time, but there's no additional traffic that's gonna be there. So if the question is, what are we gonna do about the traffic? The maintenance people use a golf cart to get around campus. So an electric golf cart. So that's about the only thing that might travel on that drive on a daily basis. Deliveries go to the farmhouse on Opening Hill Road. All the student drop-offs on the two entries will remain the same. The traffic or additional noise or anything that like that the impact should be minimal at best.
How big are the buses that are used? I think you mentioned 2 buses.
I think they're 20.
14 passengers.
14 passengers, so it's a very small bus.
Thanks. Yes.
Tom Drummond, 326 Opening Hill Road. First, I want to thank you for adding additional parking for those 4 events, so we won't have the people blocking our mailboxes and driveways like Barbara Zakola that won't have that.
Yep.
Hopefully will not have that issue. And if by removing that shed and the 2 buses, that should also open up. How many more spots?
8 or 9, depending on how.
Good. So that again,
Yeah.
thank you very much. We do appreciate that. I just want to make a positive statement.
Thanks, we appreciate that too.
I really appreciate that.
Judy Van Heineken, Blinshed Road. I'd like to know more detail about the plantings. Are they native shrubs and trees that you're planting? And how many?
Ally, do you have a description of the additional trees along Blinshed and the property line?
I can speak to that, Allie Harrison. So there's going to be a combination of evergreen plant material predominantly. So in the plan that we were showing, 3 different species with the intent of kind of a layering effect for the evergreen for an ample screen. Spruce, cypress, and the rhododendron. So we are making a goal there for the native species, adaptive species that will do well in throughout the existing vegetation. And with that, the overarching goal, of course, is to minimize the disturbance and tree removal as much as possible and really fill the gaps to provide the screening between the properties.
What is the height of the trees and the shrubs?
The initial height or the eventual?
Yeah, I was gonna. Good question. So the initial height going in for some of the larger material would be around 8 to 10 feet. With our middle tier 6 to 8, and then the rhododendron that'll fill in the lower gap of the layer. A couple of feet high there, and then they all will obviously fill in over time. So that'll be the initial install height.
Thank you. We have a couple of hands raised via Zoom, Erin.
Yes. Barbara, can you identify yourself for the record, please?
Looks like she's muted.
Here she comes.
Yes, I can.
There you are.
Here a moment ago.
Yeah, we can hear you, so.
But we've lost you, I think.
Are you there, Barbara?
Yes, I am. My major concern is wells.
Barbara, before you state your concerns, could you please state your full name and address for the record?
Sure, it's Barbara Zakala, 18 Ivy Island Drive.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm concerned about the wells. I want to make sure that my well is not affected by having the building. I want to make sure I have enough water because we have no other source but our own wells. So that's one concern. The other concern is the parking on Ivy Island Drive, which is a great concern because people just park blocking the driveways and you can't get out. And it shouldn't be happening. But I'm hoping that people will park in this additional overflow parking you have proposed.
Okay, so Ted told us, I want to address the question about the well water demand. I think Mike could speak to, from as a civil engineer, perhaps, to how it functions with the water table. However, from an architectural and plumbing engineering point of view, there are only 3 small single-hole toilet rooms in the building, and 2 or 3 sinks. So it's a very minimal demand on the water supply.
Yeah. Mike Ott again, I could just add that this is a very small building. It's actually, if you think about it, it's about the size of a residential single family home. And if you look at the septic system design, the design that we've used, the water use, the design water use is only 400 gallons per day. That's less than the water use for a 3-bedroom single family home. So as Ted said, it's a very small water use. That number of 400 gallons per day is a design number with a safety of factor in it, and the actual water use will be much less than that. I can't imagine that there would be any effect on any neighboring wells, especially wells as far away as the other side of campus on Opening Hill Road or Ivy Island Drive.
The water use is not just your toilets and your sinks. You're also talking about maintenance. And to really have good maintenance, you have to make sure that your cars and your vehicles are maintained and washed. How are you going to take care of all of that? That's a lot of water.
So the water use number of 400 gallons per day takes into account all uses of the building.
So the water source that you're using for your well, is that the same water source that I'm using?
Oh, I wouldn't be able to tell. I don't know.
Well, that's really that's one of my concerns. And the other one is the parking on my street. Because when you park there and you park in back of my driveway, I cannot get out. Even though you have put cones there, which not always have been picked up, especially the last time where you left them in front of my garage. And I tried getting someone to come and get them, and it took me a few days to actually have the secretary come down and drive down herself to get this big, huge traffic cone.
Barbara, if I could thank you. You've been a very good correspondent with the school, and she's absolutely right. In our last event, which was back to school night when we're holiday concert, when we wanted to welcome the parents, we asked the faculty to park over on Ivy Island. And we don't block, if I could, don't jump too quickly, Barbara. We don't block driveways. We're very respectful. Teachers. No, I know what you mean. But we've had a 20-year commitment opposite her driveway, which is on one side of the road. We actually do put in cones so that she can back out more easily. We've been very accommodating. I lost my assistant who retired, and she was the one who would make sure I had the cones. And when I went out in the morning to drive faculty from Ivy Island, I'd put the cones out, and I didn't do it last time. And I've promised in correspondence with her and in communication, we will continue to do it. A system in place now, but I'm very sensitive to how hard it is when you look out and you see all these cars that you don't usually see. It's a wide road, but it's unnerving nonetheless, and we've put a system in place to prevent that. One other answer that was implied in that is we have no intentions of caring for our vehicles any worse or better than we have, so we don't need to clean them more often than we've been cleaning them. We don't think there'll be more demand, and we can actually tell on our campus, maintenance aside, we know each day of the week how students move around, and frankly, they're either flushing toilets in one building or they're flushing toilets in another building, but not in both buildings. So if they flush in this building, they're not flushing somewhere else. So we don't think we're drawing the aquifer any harder than we did before. And I've learned a whole lot in the last 2 years about it.
I am going to disagree with you. It is not a wide road. It's a regular road. It's not a wide road. It's not a road that can accommodate parking on one side and having people pull out from their driveways. One of my concerns is if there was an ambulance needed or a fire engine needed, they could never pull into my driveway if there are cars parked blocking on the opposite side. And I don't believe that we've had cones there for 20 years. I've lived here for 40 years. And just in the past couple of years, have your assistant, Cindy, been putting cones out there. And some of those cones have ended up in the woods or blocking the road.
Okay, I think we'd like to give someone else a chance to ask questions. See, Scott Potter has his hand raised. Thank you, Barbara.
Hi, Scott Potter, 4 Nutmeg Lane. We had the opportunity to meet with the country school, and we shared our concerns as well as our written correspondence, so I won't go into that. But we do share a border. I may not share a direct border with you, but I have a direct sight line between 5 and 15 Nutmeg Lane. Currently, with the vegetation that ranges anywhere from little shrubs to 75-foot tall oaks, I get a pretty shaded view in the winter and a great shaded view of the campus in the summer. The existing trees block the noise and the light that come from the campus now. Our concern is that the noises we hear associated with school is now being brought closer to our property line with less screenage. Also, it was mentioned that you said it was a single story. I just want to let you know that it may be a single story building from your side, but from the Nutmeg side, it is definitely a 2-story building. And the way the topography of the campus sits and the topography of Nutmeg Lane sits lower, so we are looking up at your campus. So planting 10-foot trees is not going to block half of the garage. It won't block the new building, and it definitely won't block the existing gym, all of which I see right now. And I will get a much better view once the more mature plantings of the oaks and the taller trees between 25 and 75 feet are brought down to accommodate the gravel parking as well as the 2-story building. So I definitely have a concern about the property value and the noise and light pollution that we already get right now. The property value is degrading further because the screening is going to be removed. I came home tonight from bringing my daughter to a basketball practice, and I have a complete view of the whole campus. The gym's lit up. I see parking lot lights. I see cars driving through there. So my concern is that the landscape is not sufficient to preserve the, you know, what several of our neighbors have voiced their concern, the country feel of our property lines, the privacy that we now enjoy will absolutely be disrupted. So that's why we sat with John and his group, and you know, we are happy to hear that the country school is a good steward with the environment, and you know, they didn't want to touch trees that they didn't have to. But on the same token, I got, you know, under the impression that it was expensive and it was going to be out of the realm of this because of the expense, and also due to the fact that people on the eastern side, which is the Opening Hill side, are not afforded the same opportunities. And to that, I reply that this zoning permit is not for the east side of the campus. It is for the west side that directly butts up against properties on Nutmeg Lane, of which I am, you know, within 500 feet of. And they are not going to be looking at a 2-story building that includes maintenance, that includes garbage, and garbage trucks and lights that face directly at our properties. So what I was hoping to do when I met with John and his team is to get some of those concerns addressed by asking for taller plantings, mostly like pine or something that shades it in the winter as well as the summer, because the noise and light pollution is a lot right now. It's just going to get worse. So I was wondering if you had taken that consideration of addressing the landscaping as to reduce the effects of the overall building and proposed, you know, road on the existing properties along Nutmeg Lane.
I don't quite know how to answer the comment, other to say that we would plant 20-foot trees rather than 10-foot trees. All the vegetation that'll be planted will grow. Of course, a tree that size would cost 2-3 times as much and is much harder to install. So I you know, we believe in the plan we've created. We believe it's more than fair, and homes that are 500 feet away, I don't think we'll compromise them in any way.
So even the property line along your neighbors, your continuous neighbors, right? So if you're down 12 feet and you plant a 10-foot shrub and the building goes how many feet above ground, above the parking lot circle where you build it, that 10 feet's not gonna shield the noise and the light from existing neighbors. If you wanna exclude me as part of the neighborhood, even though by zoning law you had to send me, you know, notification that you're doing this, what about your neighbors right along that border? The Gibbons, the Blakes, the people down further down Nutmeg Lane. They're right on the border. They're going to see that. A 10-foot shrub is not going to block a building given the topography and the 2-story nature of it, and given the existing vegetation that's already there. I understand it's expensive, but you're asking for a special exception, and that has to address noise and light pollution and property value, and us getting more noise and light pollution is not going to do anything for our enjoyment of our properties nor our property value.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Potter. Do you want to respond or? Okay.
Well, I feel some responsibility to respond. We've had what I thought was a productive conversation with the Potters. They walk on our campus, they use our campus, they've been good neighbors to us. Our board feels like that's a long way away for us to make any promises at this point till we see. We've been very responsive, we think, to our closest neighbors. I'm pleased to have an opportunity to talk more with Mr. Gento as well. We don't think we're throwing more light out. We don't think we're throwing more noise out. With the landscape plan's terrific. We're not going to take trees down. We don't have to take down. We're happy to continue to talk to the Potters. They've been protective of neighbors as well. I don't know how to answer it other than we're sensitive to it. We don't want to create bad feelings. We hope to be around for another 70 years at least, and we want to have good neighborly relations.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's it for questions.
Mr. Potter, excuse me, has his hand raised again, Madam Chair.
Okay. Mr. Potter, did you have additional questions or comments?
Yeah, so the purpose of the special exception meeting, right, is to get approval for them to go home and go ahead and start construction. So what assurances do I have if after this approval goes through and, you know, the 10-foot trees are not enough and we need better screening and we have night, noise and light pollution more so than we had before? What assurances do I have or guarantees that I have after this goes through that something will be done to remedy the problem?
Okay, we hear you. I think I just want to emphasize our focus tonight is also just on this one engineering building, not on the whole campus and what's, historically been maybe a problem or not. So I think that said, unless there are other questions or comments.
Well, quick question. So regarding noise and light, I mean, what's the intended hours of use of this new building compared to what you're already doing? I mean, are there going to be after dark events at this building?
No, they're not. We have a cleaning service that comes in, and by the way, I heard the comment when talking about a golf cart, it's electric golf cart. The comment, fair enough, was, well, golf cart for now. Actually, if we go the other direction, we're gonna get rid of the golf carts. We're not going to trucks. The only people who drive around campus are the maintenance people on golf carts, and I respect them, but nobody else is driving golf carts, faculty. So if anything, we're going the other way with vehicular traffic to be consistent with our policy. No, we don't expect to have more evening programming at all. The Potter, I know this is outside the scope. If the Potters are all dug in on suddenly looking at the gym, we have trees in front of the gym. If they need more trees in front of the gym, I'd be open to that. But we're going to plant, it takes us 11 years to grow a child. We're going to plant a tree and it's going to take 11 years. But I'm totally open on that, but I know that's outside the scope of this here.
Thanks.
John Fix.
Okay, I think that we might be ready to close the public hearing and move to deliberation.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
I have a statement I'd like to read.
Yes, of course.
My name's Ted McMahon. I live on 33 Winter Hill Road. I've been there 40 years. I'm all for education. I'm really glad to hear you say how eco-friendly you people are. But I do find it ironic. I'm here to urge you to vote against this. And here's the reason why. The country school, for as long as we've lived there, have supported a very dangerous traffic and speeding situation on Winter Hill Road, and all of the streets that lead up to the school. I've heard that there's like 200 students there, and that you brag about having students from 20 towns around. Well, guess what? Most of those students are driven in one student to a car up to the country school. Doesn't seem too eco-friendly to me. And it is true that it's like a Tesla parking lot, because half your people have Teslas, which is great. But the other half have probably the most gigantic SUVs that I've ever seen. So every day when school's in session and when they have summer programs, you can't walk, you can't bike, you can't jog. You take your life into your own hands when you pull out of the driveway, because people from country school routinely ignore the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. I've talked to the people at the country school in the past, not Mr. Fick, but people there, and I know they suggest to the parents on an annual basis or a semester basis. When you drive your children to the school, please be respectful of the neighborhoods you drive through. Well, they don't. I've called the police numerous times. They come, they set up speed traps. Once the speed traps go away, the traffic continues at an accelerated pace. And the closer they get to starting time, the faster they go. And it's like, my wife didn't want me to say this, but it's like the Indianapolis 500 out there. They're going 40 miles an hour plus, and it's just unsafe. I will say that last fall, I was almost hit by a car. They were speeding, they were distracted, as most of these people are on the phone. They're on their phones, they're driving fast, trying to get their kids to school. There's a 25-foot skid mark in front of me. Fortunately, the car stopped. But that's the kind of traffic situation we have there. You know, I know you just said that this should have nothing to do with this application, but it does, because it's a new building. Maybe there's not going to be additional enrollment there now, but there could be in the future. And I think the country school needs to be held accountable for what they're doing to the surrounding neighborhoods and be, you know, I just think they need to do something about this. That this condition's been there for a long time and nothing's happened, and it's unsafe. And sooner or later, somebody's going to get hurt. Thank you.
I don't see any other questions.
Scott Potter has his hand raised again, Madam Chair. Would you like to entertain another?
Mr. Potter, if you have something new to say, and if you can keep it relatively short, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the line of sight that I was talking about that I asked you to address that no one really answered my question is, given the topography of the land, the 10-foot bushes is not going to be sufficient. Is there any comment on that? You talked about the gym building, and I'm talking about, just if you want to forget the gym building, I'm talking about the existing building, 2-story building, over 10 feet. We're down lower, you're up higher, you're planting vegetation that grows to 10, 12 feet maximum, and it's not going to be that way for some time. That's our concern. And I really didn't hear an answer to that question. I just heard a rebuttal saying, we're not talking about the gym, visibility of the gym. We're not talking about any of that. Okay, so I'm talking directly about the visibility of the 2-story maintenance garage.
Thanks. I think we have heard that, first of all, as few trees will be removed as possible, if I could speak on behalf of the applicant perhaps, and that you will be planting trees that will grow. So in the, for the first few years, no, it won't go 20 feet, but would you like to add anything to what we've already said?
John Fix, head of school. I don't know that I have much more to add to that comment. And now that gets personal, the Potters look out on 3 other houses and they see cars on the road all the time. If I'm very sensitive to our closest neighbor and would love to engage in a conversation, make sure we do that right. I don't think the Board of Trustees is going to want it's 550 feet away. That's a long way away. And we have houses much closer, and they're living the school with us on a daily basis. I don't mean there's an opportunity to get used to it, but I wouldn't speak. I know it's outside the scope, but it's the first we've had this conversation. And we don't remind our parents twice a year. I've been there 12 years. We've never talked to our parents about driving. And the idea that they're on their cell phones with their children in their cars is alarming. So separate from this, I'd like to take that on as leader of the school. But I don't know where, you may speak to somebody, but you've never spoken to me. And nope. I would know.
It's a different topic.
Right. But I would know, what I'm saying is I'm all supportive of the effort to educate people about being respectful around our neighborhood. I want to say that because I don't want that hanging out there in public. We know about this now, and we're going to respond to it on all our roads, not just Winter Hill.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I think then that we have a motion to close the public hearing and move to deliberation.
Close.
John, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Just a quick summary from me. I think it is important to just focus on this one building. That's what the special exception is for. And it meets all the bulk requirements for zoning regulations. I feel that there's been good communication with neighbors. Maybe not all questions have been solved, but we appreciate that. And we appreciate having that done even before you come to us with the application. So it's on file. Anyone else want to add to what a quick summary?
The only thing I suggest is that perhaps they should have additional discussions and come back again and see if we could resolve any other issue before we finally make a vote on this.
I would say no. I'd say I've seen the school seems to be doing whatever they can, and try to get ahead of every issue. I wouldn't want to extend this anymore.
Okay.
My only question is a clarification on the vegetation, because it went 4 to 6 to 8, 10 to 12, but it sounded like that was the starting point, the 10 feet.
Yes.
To what would be a height that those trees would grow to? Is it correct?
You have to look into the record.
Yes.
You've closed the public hearing. So
Okay.
if you
Closed the
have
public
questions
hearing,
for
but
the
the-
applicant, you
Okay.
can't ask them now.
And the landscape architect did say that the trees, it's a variety of trees at different heights.
Right. For the initial.
Correct.
Yeah.
I would favor delaying a vote on this if there's a reasonable possibility that somehow there'd be new information. But I don't think that would change anything.
I just want to clarify. When a public hearing is closed, you cannot ask for new information. So while the hearing is open, if you're looking for more information, you need to ask for it at that time. Because once the hearing is closed, you can deliberate amongst yourselves, but you cannot receive new information.
No, I agree with the comments. I do understand comments about the road. I live off of Summer Hill Road, and there's traffic at certain times of the year with Camp Laurelwood there, a very narrow 25-mile-an-hour road that people don't pay attention to, that I walk 7 miles a day on. But unfortunately, it's not related directly to this. It's got to be looked at differently. So I see no change.
John?
Sure, I mean, the substantial or permanent injury issue doesn't seem very convincing. I mean, we heard a lot about was existing gym in view of the school, which has been there since 1955. What we're really talking about is a 2-story building with a 10-foot spruce screen. It seems to me that will be less visible after everything's all done. So I don't see any substantial permanent injury. And there's no other related issue to this that should be decided.
Thank you. Bob Reinhardt, did you have anything?
No, I've just been thinking about what, if we move forward to approve, what, if any, conditions to place on the approval. One thing I'm just sensitive to is the recycling and trash containers. In the past, we've required developers to put screening around a fence, bushes, whatever it might be, just so they're hidden to some extent. If that's something we want to consider. I don't know how to do this next one, but with the trees that are being cleared, I don't know how to go about looking for trees that are significant that could be preserved. I'm not sure how you do that and have a driveway.
Specified.
But if there's any along the perimeter that require a slight tweak to the plan, that's a significant tree that could be preserved, they'll just keep that look. And it sounds like school would be open to that kind of survey, just as a request, and part of the condition is to look at that one more time, look at trees along the perimeter of size, condition. I'm not sure what the right word is.
And we've heard that every effort will be made to save whatever
Yeah.
trees can be saved.
I just want to highlight that
Right.
maybe
So
in the condition.
we'll
Do that. And then we did see, I haven't seen a illumination plan But the discussion being that it's cut off and everything, just making sure the dogs back compliant will cut off. Timer set. So I haven't seen that in the specific outline of the plan. No one's ever looked at, so.
That can be a condition.
But that is a condition as well.
I'm sorry, to clarify that, Bob, there's no new site lighting, it's building lighting?
Yeah, the building light and any other lighting, any new lighting that was described, right? The site lighting is there in the front, where the building is, that lighting exists for the current walkway. There'll be new lighting on the buildings, and I'm assuming there'll be lighting for the parking lot. To ensure any new lighting that put in place is appropriate. Dark sky compliant cut off, just as was described by the architect.
I do have, yes,
Okay, I just didn't see that in the plans, and I think it's,
okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were looking for anything other.
no, just anything new, make sure that it's done right.
Yeah, I'll just add a perspective. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder is a cliche, but it's also largely true. Some people don't like trees. They think they're kind of boring, they're not terribly interesting. So they'd be complaining that you're putting up more trees, and I don't like that. I like this neighborhood the way it is now. And in fact, but I'm being not really facetious here. It seems to me if it's obvious, like this is the building that's coming up is not a slaughterhouse. It's a football field. It's more than a football field and a half away. So it just seems to me that you can't deal with everyone's concern every time, or we can never do anything. And again, the focus is on this building, and it's been made clear that it's not going to increase traffic. And I think a reasonable person looking at it is not going to say, oh my God, this is going to ruin the neighborhood.
There's no net increase in traffic.
Right, yeah. So that's my.
Janet, are you still with us? Janet, we're just checking in to see if you have
Yep,
any.
I'm here.
Good. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good going forward. I mean, I don't have any questions. I think I've heard all I need to hear.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Can I have a motion then to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, John. Do you want to, second. You want to read? Second, any further discussion? We have staff comments and a draft proposal.
Yes, I'm happy to pull that up if that's easier.
John, do you mind reading?
No, the conditions are as per the draft. The only language that I looked to add to address Bob Reinhardt's concern was the acknowledgement that the applicant has agreed to review the existing trees within the limits of clearing and preserve as many healthy trees as possible.
That's
And,
good.
and the recycling trash,
That can be
that would be part of number 6.
in all trash and receptacles be enclosed. Is that what you're, with a
I'm not
adequate
sure what the right
enclosure?
phrasing would be. I mean, if it's a big dumpster, it's being enclosed, it's shielded in some way, so it's screened.
Yep, typically there's an enclosure.
Yeah, fence could be a bush.
Can I start reading? I'm gonna add these.
Yes.
Thank you, John.
The following draft resolution is offered. Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approves application 24-45, 341 Hoping Hill Road. Map 94, Lot 5, owner applicant Country School, Inc. Special exception modification application per section 5.4A and 3.4C. To construct a new 2,260 square foot footprint, 2-story engineering classroom and maintenance building is shown on plan set at the Country School, Hoping Hill Road and Blindshed Road, Madison, Connecticut by Summerhill Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors, PC, 6 sheets, C1.1 through C3-4 dated November 1st, 2024. landscape plan, the country school new engineering building, 341 Opening Hill Road, Madison, Connecticut, by SLAM Collaborative, dated 8/25/23. Architectural drawings by SLAM Collaborative, this country school new engineering building, sheets 1 through 5, dated 11/26/24, with the following conditions. That the zoning enforcement officer be notified at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of any regulated activity, that all erosion and sedimentation controls be installed prior to any site disturbance and be maintained for the duration of construction activities and until the site is sufficiently stabilized to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. The subsurface stormwater system shall be inspected by the design engineer during construction to verify consistency with the approved plans. A condensed inspection and maintenance chart shall be prepared by the design engineer, identifying the inspection, management, and maintenance frequency required for each component of the stormwater treatment system. This chart shall be submitted to the zoning enforcement officer for review prior to the issuance of a final certificate of zoning compliance. All exterior lighting associated with the project shall be full cutoff and dark sky friendly. All proposed landscaping shall be installed prior to issuance of a final certificate of zoning compliance, and the applicant shall maintain said landscaping to ensure health of the vegetation. All waste receptacles shall be sufficiently screened with enclosure or landscaping.
There's one other line.
The commission acknowledges that the applicant has agreed to review existing trees within the limits of clearing and preserve as many healthy trees as possible. In the event that changes to the approved plan are required as a result of other agency permitting to support the proposed activity, the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission reserves the right to review said changes and may require modification of this approval. This approval is made based upon the finding that the proposed use is permitted use in the district and that the standards, prerequisites, and conditions specified by the regulations have been met. The public convenience and welfare will be substantially served, and the appropriate use of neighboring properties will not be substantially or permanently injured. The proposed use is in accordance with the comprehensive plan. The effective date of this approval is January 30th, 2025, and upon filing of the certificate of special exception modification on the land records.
Thank you, John. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Okay, could I have a motion to close? Oh, I think we're done. Sorry. You all would like to stay, you're welcome. Yeah. But we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is 25-0198. Give you a minute. Sure. 980.
Are you gonna pull the plan up? So-
Yeah. We can do both if you want to have the, I'll absolutely
Whatever
pull them
works
up
better.
so that people attending via
Yeah,
Zoom
why don't
can
we
see
just-
them.
Oh, maybe we should-
Aaron, we're going to just do a 2-minute break. Janet, we're going to take a 2-minute recess to allow them to clear the room, okay?
Oh, sorry.
So you want to talk
All, if you wouldn't mind taking your conversations into the hallway, we'll continue the meeting.
I'll take a walk down and say hi. Thanks. Nice to see you all. Thanks for coming by. They don't care. So,
yeah, right.
There's a woman.
I thought they did. I mean, I got the letters. I got all excited. But you never know.
But I heard the same thing happens. The most vivid memory I have of this.
And then one of you.
And it just continues to drift. I just moved it.
Folks, we're gonna ask that you take your conversations out so we can finish up for the evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But yeah, I mean, it was.
Okay, so this is 25-01980 Durham Road, map 116, lot 22, our applicant. Okay, here. Oh, sorry, we're just unmuted.
Start again.
Start again. Next agenda item, 25-01980 Durham Road, map 116, lot 22. The owner applicant is Town of Madison. It's a site plan review modification for the expansion of the parking lot and drop-off areas along with installation of a playscape/playground area at Brown School. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Ben Whitaker. I'm the construction manager for the Madison Public Schools in the town of Madison. I'm kind of like, I feel kind of lonely. Everybody left, but anyway, geez, like everybody, like, what about our project? Yeah. So what we have before you tonight is a critical component of our plan to move Brown School to a pre-K through 5 school. Right now, Brown School is just grades 4 and 5 with the construction of Neck River Elementary in the south end of town. Ryerson and Jeffrey are coming offline. Those are currently K through 3. And Brown is becoming, like I said, a kind of a true elementary school. So as part of.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you kind of take a few steps back? Thank you. Appreciate it. Great.
Yeah, right. So as part of that plan, there's 2 components here. One is increasing parking up on the top part of the lot by the school. And the second is, and more importantly, is to create a drop-off area for our pre-K students. And we'll show you when the plans come up here. But we are creating kind of an exclusive drop-off zone just for pre-K. We are converting 2 rooms in the school. One's an old music room. The other one's it used to be an industrial arts. They use it for STEAM now. Both of those rooms are going to become pre-K, and they will have their own entrances and sidewalks leading from the drop-off area to those entrances. And also, as you move around the rear of the school, there's going to be a new play structure that's going to be for the exclusive use of K and pre-K. So we'll have, again, pedestrian travel over to there. And the last piece of the project is an access road. There's an existing gravel access road that runs behind the building. We're going to pave that for our public safety partners. They've expressed interest in having that area. If they haven't had to bring fire apparatus back there, we're going to maintain it, plow it, everything else like the rest of our paved surfaces. So those are kind of the 3 components of this project. We brought on Mr. Brian Curtis from NJA, who's a civil engineer, and they did the plans for us, and I'll turn it over to him and he could walk us through.
Thanks, Ben. For the record, Brian Curtis with Nathan Jacobs and Associates, a professional engineer. I'll go through this plan briefly. We did prepare, a plan was prepared very similar to this maybe 5-6 years ago that was for the school board. And this is basically a refinement of that same plan for the parking lot anyway. At that time, the northerly playground was constructed. Now this is another aspect of that same plan. Just looking at the site here, north is to the top of the sheet, and Durham Road is over here to the west. And the site's 53 acres accessed off of Durham Road. There's a long entrance drive that enters the school to Ryerson and then to the Brown Elementary School. As Ben mentioned, the proposed parking lot is to the east of an existing easterly parking lot. There's another parking lot to the west at a lower level. This new parking lot is basically at the high point of the site. As you can see from the aerial image here, the site is heavily forested all surrounding the school. Just while we have this overall perspective, Athletic fields are to the north. This is a new parking lot, and this is the existing gravel access drive that will be paved. And these are the new sidewalks to the classrooms, and there's a new sidewalk to the proposed playscape area for the pre-K students. We could go to the next slide. Some of these we might flip through. This is a existing conditions topographic survey. Major trees and boulders are identified. This is the existing easterly parking lot. The proposed parking lot will be constructed immediately to the adjacent to the east. We could go to the next slide. This is the school building portions of it, the southerly wing and the easterly wing. As you can see, it's very heavily wooded all around the to the east of the school and the access drive. And the proposed playground will be constructed in this area, so it's easily accessed to the pre-K classrooms. Go to the next slide. Shows these are, yes.
The access road that's there now, I'm familiar with it. Walked the track baseball with it there.
Oh, yeah.
For many years. Back and forth. It's horrible. You're gonna have to clear some trees on the eastern edge of that to try to get you're gonna try to get a tank or a ladder truck through there. That's a pretty narrow.
No, we're basically to the south at the new parking lot. We're moving it a little bit to the east so that we can have a sidewalk for the kids to enter the school. We're straightening it out in that area and intersecting it, and I'll show you with the new parking lot. But the balance of it, we're basically following the existing gravel drive. It's only, the new pavement's only gonna be 12 feet wide.
12 feet.
12 feet wide.
Standard.
Yeah, so no major tree clearing needed for the driveway. There might be a tree here and there, but nothing extensive.
I think it's noted on the demo.
Yeah, we show a tree clearing limit on the plan.
Yeah.
There's a pretty dense canopy there.
Yes.
This is it says demolition plan, but basically a clearing plan. We show any of the major trees were located by survey in boulders and so forth. And the clearing limits is kept as close as possible to the regraded area. This is the existing parking lot. The new parking lot will be just to the east. This entire area, just for scale, is about half an acre. It's not very large. In total, we're clearing maybe 0.6 of an acre, including the driveway. We can go to the next slide. This shows the existing gravel driveway that'll be resurfaced, and essentially there's no clearing except for 2 trees in that location, 1 tree right there, but basically it's following the existing path. This is a site plan for the proposed parking lot. Currently, the site has 106 parking spaces from those other 2 parking lots I referred to. And this will be a net gain of 38 additional parking places in the new parking lot. So there'll be a total of 144 parking spaces. There's existing ADA compliant handicap spaces located immediately adjacent to the school already. So this additional parking does not require any additional handicap parking places. Just for reference, this would also be used for overflow parking during like parent teacher nights and so forth. The main or upper classes would access and drop off this lower driveway as they do currently. And this upper parking lot would be a signage for the pre-K students to enter here. And this is a new drop-off area that doesn't exist currently. So the cars would pull in here. There's enough staging here for a couple of cars to drop off, and then others would that are queued up will pull in. And this is the area where we move the driveway a little bit further to the east, so it intersects with the drive aisle of the parking lot.
Will the driveway that's up there now, that upper lot, there's a roadway that drops back down and connects it down to the main entrance. Will that remain there, or will that?
Yes, the existing paved driveway, that's untouched. We're basically coming off each corner of that existing parking lot up to the new parking lot.
And buses don't go on through that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Good.
The buses utilize the lower circle.
That's right.
Yes.
in front of the
It's
school.
actually the busiest when it's full.
Yeah.
That's true. It is a voter
Yeah.
location.
There will be a gate put across this access drive just so people don't, unauthorized, don't go down that. The exact configuration of that will work out with the school, exactly what kind of gate they would like. And this would be a ADA compliant sidewalk to the new classrooms intersecting with the loading area and with a detectable warning strip at the intersection there. I just point out the overall parking lot has a very gentle slope to the east. There's curbing around the islands, but everything to the east, there's no curbing. And I'll explain our drainage system on the other plan. But the parking lot does not drain towards the existing parking lot. It drains to the east to this heavily wooded area. Look at the next slide. This is the new playscape. It's only about 30 by 40. It's fairly small, but the kids from pre-K can walk right up the new sidewalks and driveway to access a playscape. And also from these lower doors, they can walk up with a ADA compliant sidewalk to the playscape. And it also intersects with the existing doorways on the school building. The access drive will terminate up in the area right near the ball fields where it kind of terminates there now, and there's a bituminous sidewalk going further to the west. So it basically will follow the existing driveway. Next would be the grading plan. The parking lot was designed with only like a 2% slope, a very mild slope to the east. And to handle the runoff from the parking lot, we're providing a stormwater management system that meets the DEP requirements for treating the water quality volume and also to control runoff from the water quality volume. The design is for the 90 percentile storm, which is like 1.3 inches. 90% of the storms are at that level or below. And we're providing basically a grass filter strip and then a infiltration trench, 277 feet long, basically the whole length of the parking lot. So any runoff would flow into the grass filter strip and then into this a stone-filled trench, basically, to grade. And the volume of storage in the swale and the stone would be enough to store that water quality volume. And probably more than that, because it'll also be an infiltration trench. It has sand below the stone to infiltrate the stormwater. We did do soil test pits in this whole area to verify that, that could be constructed without encountering bedrock. The net cut and fill is a little bit of, there's more cut than fill, about 160 yards, which is not very large. That's the net difference between the cuts and the fills based on the topography. And this sloped area will be provided with silt fence all around it and erosion control matting on the slope so vegetation can get established. The next slide would show, and we can come back to any of these that you like.
And Brian, that's just seeded, right?
Yes, that's because of all the trees all around here, we're not proposing any trees to be planted. We are leaving one large tree in that island. We think that will make it. And this would be just a grass slope that would be maintained as grass.
And what's the slope going down?
The steepest part is 3-on-1 slope, and that's provided
So
with.
there's no safety issue.
No, there's not. We are providing a timber guide rail along the edge of the parking lot. Yeah, for the cars, yeah.
Quick question, on the plan, the little tree images, are those representative of what trees are there?
Those would be the larger trees that were located by survey, existing trees. No, they're not proposed trees, they're existing.
No, I understand.
Yep. This again is the grading plan. We maintained a maximum 5% slope up to the playscape for ADA compliance for the existing. And we improved, there's an existing stormwater inlet grate here. We're lowering that just slightly just to make the drainage work better than it does today. And that actually drains to the west underneath the school building, the storm drain does. But we're just making a minor improvement to that grate. And the playscape will be located in this area.
Quick question on the sidewalks. Why aren't you connecting those the new graded sidewalk to the existing one just?
You mean up here?
Yeah.
To the north?
I can answer that.
Yeah.
This budget on this project is on a, just to say it's on a shoestring is probably not giving it justice. It's the same deal with that access road. That's why it just kind of dead ends right there. When this project was on my desk, I started with the district last July. That was my first concern. And we're not even going to be able to build bare necessities here. So like every project, the toughest part is figuring out where to stop. I would have loved to have gone around and done all the bituminous walks in the back there, but we had to stop for dollar reasons.
Is that staying as the gravel, the existing gravel that's there? It's sort of patched out.
If I remember correctly, there is bituminous walk.
Yeah, there is, this is a bituminous walk right here, existing bituminous walk.
There is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of overgrowth. but
Yeah,
it's there.
it's not a very pretty area, and that's one of the things, when I first walked out with the director of facilities, we want to tackle in future projects, is just cleaning that area out, making it, it's just an eyesore right now, but
It is 200 yards of process.
Yeah.
Still kind
yeah, right.
Any other questions on this? Okay. You could just, this is just erosion and control details. This would be the, there's a timber, this is a timber guide rail that's on the east end of the parking lot. This is that infiltration trench where it's a swale that would store water. It's only a foot deep, stone-filled trench 2x2, and then 2x2 of leaching sand below it. So it would store water in the swale and the stone voids, and it would also infiltrate on top of that. So it has enough capacity to store at least the water, more than the water quality volume, but then it would also act as an infiltration. There's a, on the easterly edge of it, if you had a large storm, we put a concrete curb level spreader so that the water doesn't overflow at any one point. It would overflow along that entire 270-foot length. So we don't want to concentrate the flow. And then there's vegetated wooded areas downhill of that would also be available for infiltration. There will be, there's a photometrics plan. There are 3 proposed lights in the parking lot. Currently, there's 2 lights in the existing parking lot to the, this is the easterly parking lot. We're proposing 3 more lamppost type lights here, south, center, and north to illuminate the new parking lot. It's just typical, not real bright lighting. It's the foot candles are from 2.3 to 0.5. They're basically 0.1 or 0 at the south property line. And the site is very isolated. It's not really visible from anywhere nearby, luckily.
Let's not go there again.
And then this, so this is the photometrics plan showing the foot candles of lighting, basically to light up the new parking lot.
What is the pole height?
24 feet, I believe, is the existing parking lot lights, and it was basically to match that. And they would be full cutoff down lights for the lighting fixtures.
How many lumens?
I think they were 20,000, I think. It's on the sheet. I can't read it. It's a little blurry on this. I thought I read 20,000 lumens.
It's 20,000.
Yeah.
3,000 K.
Any color temperature?
3,000.
But how often is it used at night?
Well, that was a question on the amount of lighting, and I guess parts for security so people don't hang out there, parts for activities.
Yeah, it's a little of both. So
Could be variable.
I was talking to the site this week to see what they run their lighting currently, and currently they're running it pretty much dusk till dawn from a security perspective, because it is out in the middle of nowhere there. And then when there are events at the school, that area is used. Again, that's the pickup area, so they actually they adjust the timer accordingly, but they'll start turning it. Being an elementary school, they're the latest, they're the tier 3. So, you know, in the winter, you actually want the lights on at 4:30 or so,
Right.
especially for after school activities. That every district I've worked in, our elementary schools were almost all illuminated all night. But again, then there's other events that happen there, voting and things of that nature. I haven't seen this in action yet, but I did see voting in action, but when they do events at the school, which there are a lot of, there's actually people end up parking all the way down the access drive, and then I guess you guys probably know better than I would, but almost to Route 79. So yeah, so that was the reason. Because when I first took this project on, I was walking the site, and now we're gonna have many more teachers there next year as well. But I'm like, wait, why do we need extra parking? I don't want to, let's spend the money on something else. But then I started talking about all the events.
And what about Ryerson is getting torn down, right?
Correct.
Will that,
Well, we don't know.
we don't know.
It's getting turned back over to the town, and then that decision will be made. But yeah, originally the plan was to knock it down.
put additional parking there?
So Ryerson is far enough away where you would actually you'd have to transport people up the hill. I mean,
Okay.
it's not like.
You have to create this step down thing.
Yeah.
Upper field level, that'd be a.
That actually came up, we were at NACA on Tuesday, and somebody brought up that same question, like, hey, could you have parking at Ryerson? I'm like, you'd have to shuttle them back and forth if you did. Which, depending on the event, maybe that's an idea too, but.
Okay, thanks.
What's the increase in the student population?
I believe they're going from, they're 3 and change now, I think they're gonna be around 500. Depending on how the split, I'm not sure what the north-south split is, but it should be something.
It's just over 5.
Yeah.
So roughly doubling in number of teachers, staff.
I don't know how many additional they're gonna be, I know they're like, right now, the 300 wing, which is, where the playscape was, just a little north to it, that wing is completely vacant right now. Those rooms were all redone, not this past summer, but the summer before, when the start of this transition was happening. So that wing will be populated. I don't know the exact kind of staff that's moving now.
So.
Thanks.
So how many additional parking spots?
There's 38.
38 additional parking stalls.
How many are there now?
There's 106 now, so there'll be 144 total with this project.
There's another lower level that you have to drive by. I'm assuming that's able to go drive up to get to the upper level one that's being expanded. I'm assuming the lower level one is not being touched.
Correct.
That's in pretty good shape. That's.
That was redone in the past
10 years, so yeah.
or so.
Any other questions?
Yes. So on the quick count, it looked like you're cutting down between 25 and 30 trees in the clearance section to fit the parking lot, the big trees.
Well, there's, we located the large trees. There's other smaller, we didn't
Yeah.
locate every single tree.
No, yeah, I understand. So I just on
Yeah,
the map.
yeah, the ones that are Xed out, correct. Yeah.
Is there an opportunity to replace those anyplace else on the property? 30 trees is a lot of trees as far as leaves.
Well, if at the site, it's heavily wooded.
Understood.
Around the building and to the east, it's all heavily wooded.
Understood.
So within very close proximity to the proposed parking lot, it's all woods. So that's why we didn't propose any
No, I
new
understand, but it's
plantings.
still clearing out a lot of the canopy that
Yeah,
we keep clearing, we don't plant anything, I'm looking for an opportunity to plant something.
Yeah,
That replace what the trees do.
Yeah, I don't think on that site, because that site is kind of like carved out of the woods, so to speak, so there wouldn't be anywhere else on that site to plant something. And I don't think there's anything there, we just don't think it'd be practical to like truck them off site.
No other opportunities, I see. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't.
When you tear down Ryerson, you can put.
Yeah, right. Take Ryerson first, put the trees over there, yeah.
Thanks. I mean, this looks great. It's a parking lot and it's a play space. Anybody have any other questions or concerns?
Janet signed off.
Okay.
She needed to.
Sure.
Well, the only question I have is with respect to the parking is understanding if the additional parking lot is going to be adequate for the increase. But I have no idea. I don't know if half the parking lot's empty each day or not. If you're almost doubling the students, you're going to be almost doubling the number of teachers. I assume student teacher ratio is not gonna change. And if this is about a 35% increase in parking
Yeah,
spaces,
35.
it doesn't seem adequate unless, and I don't want to go through all this, build it, and then people are still parking in amongst the
could-
trees.
You
They
could,
might.
you could, no, I mean, you could easily accommodate the staff there. So like I said, one of my first comments when I came on board here during the school year, was that, I'm like, wait, why are we building the parking here? Because there are existing spots open now. You could double the staff and they would probably fit in the existing parking lots.
So then why are we building
So
a
I think,
parking lot?
like I said, to build the parking lot is for voting, it's for events, it's to prevent people from going down the hill there. That's the.
And improve traffic flow somewhat too, so.
And
It's not right.
accessibility to the
Accessibility to the
preschool, they need their
I get
own.
that could be a
So,
solution. That
so
would
if
be
we were
good.
if we were gonna do a turnaround to the preschool, we would have to pave that approach anyway. So while you're at it, you might as well make some parking spots. But believe me, if I didn't have to build a parking lot, there are plenty of other places in the district I'd rather put the money. Civil engineers don't want to hear that, but.
I just like some more data to base my decision on.
Well,
Well, the increase in, I mean, went from 300 to 500 is 40%, or 60%.
and if there's existing more than enough
Parking,
parking now.
where they can double
Yeah.
it.
There is.
And also,
there's-
it seems to me that the school projects are phased projects and, for example, we don't know exactly what's happening with Ryerson or, I think down the road with budget.
I think the whole accessibility for the preschool is a big part of this.
Right.
That's the
That's the driver.
That's the driver.
Because it's
It's an
changing.
existing school, it's staying a school, you're not reviewing a change in use of
Understood.
the property. This is simply a project to expand
Right, and so
where.
what's lacking, I'm sorry to say, but what's lacking in the presentation is any data demonstrating that there is a need for drop off. I understand that, but there's no data driving the need for an expanded parking lot. Or if there is this a sufficiently large parking lot? I'm not saying the parking lot's not needed. I have no idea how big a parking lot is needed. It could be 10 spaces, it could be 50 spaces. I'd just like to see the analysis that was done to support 38 spaces.
Well, I could say that when they do have events, there's cars parked down the road, so there's a need for additional parking for those events. But for this site, we basically maximize what we could use there because it drops off dramatically. It's not feasible to put a parking lot further east to that. And even to the north, it drops off very close to that driveway, the gravel driveway. It drops off pretty steeply to the east. So we basically, this is the maximum we could fit on that spot, part of the site.
And does that parking accommodate pre-K and kindergarten staff? With the new parking?
Yeah, general staff. There's only 2 classrooms for pre-K up there, so if they wanted to park there, that's, some staff parks up there, some staff parks, schools are, they're like preferred parking spot, they never change it. But right now, the lots are probably, like, if you went there at 11 o'clock tomorrow, they're probably 40 to 50% loaded, half on the bottom, half on the top too. Like, there's no, the bottom part doesn't fill up and then people start overflowing. Like, I've witnessed people kind of parking wherever they're comfortable doing. So there's open spots, both top and bottom right now.
Probably where they're in the building.
Yeah, something,
Well,
territory.
no, but it's, Bob's point is, I mean, it's simple math though, right? It's like, we know how many teachers are there now, and administrators, cafeteria workers, maintenance, people, so, and I understand the parking lot. I'm there, but my wife works there. So I know, I understand, I picked up and dropped off kids, everything there, so, you're adding pre-K, kindergarten, and first and second and third grade. So you're gonna add more people. Does the math tell you that, okay, there's a spot for every teacher, or in every person who's gonna be working?
You're also moving half the population of that school out to a different school too, though.
But that's not gonna change. The population's going.
The population's going up.
Population's going up, and both schools are about equal.
About
The teachers, they already know, they've already assigned the teachers, the paraprofessionals, everything, so they know who's gonna be in what school, so they have the numbers. It's there.
Yeah, I just don't have.
I know you don't have
that-
superintendent.
That, I could, if it wasn't 9 o'clock, I'd text the superintendent, he probably knows off the top of his head.
I
I
guarantee.
never asked the question of him because I knew this was the biggest we could make the parking lot. If it wasn't big enough, well, that's all we got. And right now, like I said, there are, didn't count them, but I'd say on your average day, there's gotta be at least 40 spots open. Anytime I've ever been to the site, so during
That's-
regular
that's
operations.
40 spots without the new 38 spots.
Correct.
Right, existing.
Yeah.
Because you're never gonna solve for that overflow, people parking on that access road that comes in there. 38 spots is not gonna be enough for that. When that happens, it's covered all the way down.
Well, we're doing what we can do to mitigate that, so
Yeah.
it's.
Any other concerns?
I just like the data. I mean, if this were a private project, not a public project, we have reams of data with respect to parking and the need for parking.
You just approved a project with additional parking without any
Does that have
parking
any relevance to
calculations.
this one though?
I'm just saying, it's a
Right.
project to expand a
I understand
parking
that.
lot without providing that
What-
parking requirement.
What-
This is an existing school. We don't require in the zoning regulations a parking analysis to expand the
Cutting
parking
down
lot.
30 big trees, I'd just like to know why. And there's two things. One is we're creating a parking lot that seems to be needed for overflow. Is it adequate? Is the size of this new parking lot adequate to handle the staff for the increased size of this school? I don't know that. You're saying that it is, but I don't have anything in front of me that says it is. If it's not, then I'd like to ask for a reassessment of how the parking will be laid out so we have enough parking for the school. I don't know how many new spots will be needed to adequately meet more people working in the cafeteria, janitorial services, teachers, whoever shows up for schools. I have no idea.
That number's under 40, that number's under 40, for sure. So
140 what?
additional headcount in the school.
Workers.
Correct.
Okay, so then you've got
This is
100,
made an argument not to build a parking lot.
so you've got 106 current parking spots?
106, and there will be 144 with this
You have
parking.
4 extra parking spots.
No, 106 to 144.
Right, and he's saying 140 people work in the building.
I also said there's 40 spots vacant at 11 o'clock on Friday.
I don't want
This-
to argue, I'm just asking, I think it's incumbent on us to at least have the data so. we can
I
make
don't,
an
I'd like to
appropriate decision.
remind you of the purview of a site plan modification is this is an administrative approval by the commission
And
if
I'll
the
just-
proposal meets the bulk requirements of the zoning. There's not a discretionary piece to this. The town is not coming before the commission to change the use of a school. It's remaining a school and it's existed for many decades. And was built, the parking that was accommodated for that school
I think it's
exists. It may have had waivers, reductions in parking as the commission has had opportunity to grant those reductions in the past. But I don't think it's before you this evening to determine if the proposed number of spaces are adequate for the use of the building. The school exists with the same existing parking now and is an
Right.
approved use.
The school's function will be changing when it expands to include other grades. I'm just trying to make sure we don't make a mistake and build something that might be too small. And understand what we're getting into. It's not gonna handle the big overflow. But I'd just like to understand that if we approve it, we're saying we understand it and we agree with the plan. If that's not the case, then I'll just abstain from the vote for lack of data to support my decision. I would say yes or no. Okay. But I think
Okay.
it's incumbent on us to make the right decision, not just a decision.
Erin, I wanted to just circle back to the lighting issue and looking at the draft resolution Number 5 says all exterior lighting associated with this project shall be full cutoff and dark sky friendly, but what I heard was security requirements mean that the lights stay on.
They're still dark sky
Friendly,
friendly. The detail sheet does show that they are,
Down,
yes,
okay.
they are dark sky approved. That is on there.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. I just want to make sure we aren't, that we're capturing what you said, that the lights would be on all night, basically, for security reasons. And the great horned owls up there don't care. Any other discussion, comments? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a second, or do you want to go ahead and read the draft approval?
Following draft resolution is offered. Madison Planning and Zoning approves application number 25-01, 980 Durham Road. Map 116, lot 22, owner applicant Town of Madison, site plan review modification for the expansion of the parking lot and drop-off areas along with installation of playscape playground area at Brown School as shown on plan set. Robert H. Brown Intermediate School, pre-K playscape and parking lot expansion, 980 Durham Road by Nathan L. Jacobson and Associates, Inc. 13 sheets dated January 2025 with the following conditions. That the zoning enforcement officer be notified at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of any regulated activity. That all erosion and sedimentation controls be installed prior to any site disturbance and be maintained for the duration of construction activities until the site is sufficiently stabilized to the satisfaction of the zoning enforcement officer. The stormwater system shall be inspected by the design engineer during construction to verify consistency with the approved plans. A condensed inspection and maintenance chart shall be prepared by the design engineer identifying the inspection, management, and maintenance frequency required for each component of the stormwater treatment system. This chart shall be submitted to the zoning enforcement officer for review prior to the issuance of a final certificate of zoning compliance. All exterior lighting associated with the project shall be full cutoff and dark sky friendly. In the event that changes to the approved plans are required as a result of any other agency permitting to support the proposed activity, the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission reserves the right to review said changes and may require modifications of this approval. This approval is made based upon the finding that the proposed use is a permitted use in the district and that the standards, prerequisites, and conditions specified by the regulations have been met. The effective date of this approval is January 30th, 2025.
Thank you, John. I have a second. Any further discussion?
I guess,
John, you go.
well, regarding further discussion, I sort of agree with Bob that I understand the close now, but it's a little bit confusing regarding the new parking lot. So we're going to clear half an acre for parking that may be needed only on a few instances. And in those instances, it's because people are parked on the street. It's not a street, right? It's part of a school complex. The difference versus the country school situation was that additional parking cleared up some people parking on the public road. So that is a little bit of a question mark here. Maybe not just the nature of this presentation, but what does anybody else think about that?
Well, the parking lot, I think they're taking advantage of, because they have a new drop-off area for pre-K and K, and the parking area is an opportunity to create some additional parking.
Well, I really
That's what I hear.
That's what I understood. Yeah, same here.
So there's gonna be disruption there anyway, even if you didn't have any parking up there. Well, why, they're just adding parking because it fits in with the plan. That's how I.
Okay. So I think we're looking at it as sort of a package deal.
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
It's a bonus.
it's, if you're doing any additions or any work on a house or anything, sometimes you have an opportunity to improve something because of that need to have that drop off and that different access to the school.
That's what
So I look at the parking as being a way to just improve the overall situation
And the
while
play space.
creating that new entrance or new access for the school.
Fair enough. Well, I mean, personally, there's a hesitation about the clearing, which may or may not be necessary, but I think overall plan makes sense. So, okay.
Yeah, I think in my case, I would, if this were just an idea of let's get some more parking spaces, I would say, wait a second, the numbers I've seen hasn't demonstrated that there's any need. But there certainly is a need to have the drop-off work done.
So taking advantage.
And so the argument of what the hell, do it anyway. It would be quicker to do it now.
It is a more complete plan.
I think it's more thought out than what the hell, but.
Right. Yeah, it's more of a complete plan than just creating a drop off.
So I would support.
Let me just remind everybody that this was an approved project by the Board of Ed. That was before my time, so I don't know what deliberations they have, but I know this came up through the town's capital improvement plan committee. This wasn't a project that was just like, oh, we're converting the school next week, let's do it. I mean, this has been years in the making, has been through the SIP committee, has been through the Board of Ed. This plan has been through the Board of Ed. I think as for the validity of the plan, those folks have been vetting this along the way. It comes over to my group to build it. But I think, that they wouldn't just be arbitrarily adding spots if they weren't needed. So.
Thanks. Okay, I think we're ready to vote then. All in favor of the application? All against? Abstaining?
I don't have an application to vote either way. I'm abstaining.
Abstaining. Okay. It gets approved.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate all the work that's gone into this project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a request for an extension for 24-29, 454 Horse Pond Road, map 84, lot 28, zone RU1, owner 454 Horse Pond LLC. Applicant Mac Building LLC subdivision application for 4 lots pursuant to section 27 Open Space Conservation District. And this is a request for a 90-day extension for the filing of the Mylar. As I understand, it's because of the homeowners association deed
Yes.
planning and.
At the time of filing the Mylar, the deeds need to be drafted for each property, and in this particular case, because of the open space component, the HOA documents and the shared stormwater drainage requirements, that all needs to be drafted by the attorney. So they're requesting additional days. The deadline would have been February 14th to file the Mylar.
Okay.
Anyone have any problem with this? So, can I have a motion to approve? Reinhardt, positive.
I'll second.
Can you read the,
Oh, there's a motion?
there's a draft
Just one
resolution.
paragraph. I picked the right one then.
Yes.
It's right behind you.
Okay. Following draft resolution is offered, voted that the Madison Planning and Zoning Commission approved a 90-day extension to file the signed record subdivision Mylar on the Madison Land Records application number 24/29-5454, Horse Pond Road, map 84, lot 28, zone RU1, owner 454 Horse Pond LLC, applicant Mac Building LLC, subdivision application for 4 lots pursuant to section 27, open space conservation.
Thanks. Second? Jeff, any further discussion? All in favor? Extension is granted. Okay, moving on to approval of minutes. Secretary from
Sure, January 2nd, 2025 meeting, the members present Reinhardt, Snow, Morgan, Bugda, Peckinpah, O'Connor, and Rubin. Motion for approval? Andrew, second. Any comments or edits?
Good.
Only minor thing on page 2, last paragraph, it says Commissioner Andrew. We all know who that is, but Andrew Rubin, right? So want. Otherwise, it will all look good to me. It's just like being there without being there. Vote to approve. Everybody except for Jeff and me, who were not there. Okay, great, thanks.
Super, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, remarks. I just wanted to talk about training a little bit again. I think
yes.
everyone submitted information to Erin, but if you haven't, please do. And Erin, did you want to add anything?
Yes, I'm in the process. If you've received a notice from me
I did.
already, you are compliant. If you have not, you are not compliant. And I will send you what information I have for you and some opportunities. Again, it is required by the statutes for commissioner training. And there's a great upcoming training opportunity hosted by the Connecticut Bar Association. It's an all-day event. It's online, and it will be the third Saturday in March, I believe. So that information
22nd.
will be in my memo that I send to you. It will satisfy all of your continuing ed requirements. But you do need to have a total of 4 hours. And that needs to be, depending on when you've been appointed, either, within 1 year of appointment and then once every term they're following. So one of those hours needs to be dedicated to fair housing or affordable housing. And your training needs to be approved by the town beforehand to let you know that it qualifies as training. So we'll get as much information to you as possible. And I would encourage you to sign up.
Thank you. The sooner the better.
The March 22nd Connecticut Bar, I mean, I did it 2 years ago. It's really good. It's very
You'll
good.
get a reference book as
And
well.
you get a reference book of case law that you can read at your leisure if you have insomnia.
Yes.
Jeepers.
And are you sending that to everyone?
Yes.
Even those of us who are compliant?
So there's a memo attached. In that memo is a link.
Okay.
If you lost it, I can send you a direct link to that as well.
Third, you said third Saturday? Because that's the 22nd.
Yes.
22nd.
That's what it is.
I mean, the 15th of March is the third. technically.
No, it's the
Oh, sorry.
22nd.
It's the 22nd.
I'm sorry. Of course, the first is the first Saturday. I didn't see that one coming.
And you're gonna send that information out, right?
Yes,
Okay, perfect.
yes. So we do have a Google sheet that tracks each commissioner, both ZBA and P and
No,
Z.
you'll send the information on that training program.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
that will be included with what I have documented for your hours. If you have information that I haven't yet received that shows you've taken a class that I haven't counted on your behalf, send me the information. They usually send you some kind of confirmation that you've completed. You can't
Clear
just
sends an email.
You can't just sign up, you have to go and attend the whole thing and verify to us. I do have a budget dedicated for training for commissioners as well. So once you do sign up and provide me with that confirmation email, I'm happy to reimburse your costs for attending that. The Bar Association is a $60 fee, and that includes the book.
The Yukon training though,
There are some, they have a land use academy.
yeah.
And that link is also in my memo.
Yeah, I don't think I got anything when I did those. I don't think I had a email.
They may not, they give you a registration confirmation,
They-
that would
Okay.
be sufficient.
I'll look for that.
They send an email afterwards. It takes a few weeks.
Well, those are live sessions, but
No.
the
That's right.
recorded ones that are in the
Oh,
Land
okay.
Use Commissioner Training Academy.
Okay.
I've done some of those.
There are also some other videos, some training from that other municipalities
Okay.
have done that I can connect you to if there's a specific topic you're looking for. But I really encourage you to do the Land Use Commission training through Yukon Clear. It's great, it's straightforward, it teaches you all, at least all the basics.
It's really easy and really
Um,
Fair, fair one.
Like that.
painless,
Yeah, it's a little bit fun.
even fun.
I should have a
Yes.
confirmation from.
Yes. So I'll get the rest of those out, hopefully tomorrow.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, could I have a motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor?